So hello everyone, and welcome back to finally a bit more Steel Division League. After my break from for the holidays, guys, I'm back, and I hope you got good into the new year over the holidays, didn't got too many kilos on, and hope your New Year's resolutions are still going well as well. And yeah, I'm not alone today, guys. I'm joined again by a guy from Japan. Mr. Lord is joining me again, guys.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and hope you all enjoyed the holidays.
And yeah, we're going to get a really nice game to cast now, because we're in the finals. We jump for Division 3, all over the semifinals and round of 6, right into the good stuff. Bowser versus Nate, aka the Emperor, is what we got here. And both of them had some tough opponents to beat to get here. Nate walking over Orman and Bowser over Plague of Rats, both in a 2-1 series, so it was close. So I'm pretty sure we will get a close final as well. And yeah, I will start a vote in a second, guys, asking you for who do you guys favor. But first of all, I will ask you a lot. Who do you think is the favorite in this game match?
Ooh, I would say Bowser, because he's also on my fantasy team then, so that's where I'm hoping there.
But,
I think that Bowser surely has been the rising star in this, over all the divisions, like been one of the big rising stars that we've seen really been doing extremely well in their division. So let's see if Emperor can put up against this and show who's the real boss, maybe.
Yeah, I think Bowser for sure is the favorite, and also, as I said, one of the rising stars in the community, casting a lot, playing a lot on stream lately. Like, I don't know if there's many guys out there who played more than him lately, and he's doing pretty well in ranked, that's for sure. Getting to the first page there, into the top 25. And yeah, I think him and Quattro U are the top newcomers of the last half year. So really looking forward to see him perform here, and maybe looking forward to see Nate stopping him, but that's up to Nate to decide. And yeah, if you want to support these guys, everyone, then you can go over to Matcherino. Matcherino is how we crowdfund this tournament. The winner of this match gets $25 at the moment, and you can make that more by using the code !Matcherino in the chat. I even typed it in for you guys. And then in the Matcherino page, you can use the code Sherman to add 50 cents to the prize pool, or visit G Fuel here for adding another couple cents to the prize pool. Or if you feel really generous today, you can also add some of your own money to the prize pool. I, for some reason, got 20 cents here, for example, that I can add in. I don't know how I got them. Sometimes just free money pops up in my account. I still don't understand how, but yeah, there's always like a couple of cents, a couple of dollars, sometimes even showing up. I don't know how that works. Maybe they pay me for being their sponsor. I'm not quite sure how that works, but yeah, now it's $357.86 for the season, and the top players really earned it, so make that a bit bigger, guys. Yeah, so now it's time to jump in, and I will just switch over for a second so that we can get the game started. I hope you're all as hyped as I am. I'm for sure hyped to be back. A lot, you ready?
Yeah, I am ready.
Okay, 3,
On your mark.
2, 1, go. Okay, guys, so here we are. Why does the game not show? Oh, there we go. Bowser versus Nate, aka Emperor. And both are Vanguard, and both play the Axis. Oh, Vulcan's viewers would be happy to finally not see allies versus allies. I'm also happy. And what do you think about the divisions here?
Well, I think that it shows maybe a bit that Nate isn't up, because Bowser gets to play one of his favorite divisions. When he plays serious, this is one division we see him often when he streams himself, and it's one he says he's also very comfortable with and also likes a lot. And I think in the current meta,
let's
it's
buy
a
some positive
really good
media
division,
coverage,
because
boys. Kappa.
now with the latest patches to MG, I think that medium tanks has really gotten better and better, and they have the best P4 in the game, because you can cycle between that heat and normal AP ammunition to get even more shots per minute. On the other side, Hermann Göring, always been a good division for a long while. Very interesting. They don't have as many medium tanks, but they have a longer infantry. But they have the weaker German infantry of the expensive part instead of the extremely cheap, cost-efficient one you have on the other side for El Bowser.
Yeah, that's for sure. Somehow whenever I click out of the window, my window minimizes. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, I also would favor Blindata, but obviously, as you said, Hermann Göring is one of the good divisions since it came out, and it hasn't really fallen out of favor. It's still, I would say, an A-tier division, but on the lower end of A-tier. Maybe a B+, whilst Blindata is comfortably an A-tier, and in this matchup, it doesn't have to worry too much about heavy tanks or anything like that. Like, there is a couple of Tigers, and the Jagdpanzer IVs obviously can be nasty as well. But the infantry fight should be in favor of Blindata if El Bowser does it right. And
yeah, I'm surprised by the amount of T-34 that Emperors brings in, seeing how they're doing quite not so well versus the tanks that you can see on the Dota side.
Well, maybe
so I'm surprised that we see that card instead of just more P4s.
My guess is that he's worried about an armored car rush, and against armored cars, T-34s do pretty well for the price.
That is true.
Because El Bowser always mixes one of these in a best of 3, best of 5. So I would expect it as well. So I think the T-34s are a fine pick here. And with 4 of them, they even can beat the Panzer IVs here coming up. But yeah, in a even numbered matchup, T-34s for sure are inferior to other medium tanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bowser also gets an early pickup by taking the field area in the south and snapping up now an extra flag there for free almost.
Yeah, so we have the first 2 60mm mortars also on the edge of the hill. Bowser having to fight the uphill battle here, literally, on this map. You don't want to lose this forest in the north, around on the island, because it's really hard to get back into after you lost it. So the 60mm mortars are a good way of pinning down the enemy infantry. But the T-34s are pushing, and so far they do pretty well, killing off one Hawk already, engaging quite a lot of infantry as well, killing the first Vanatori, killing the first leader. Smoke trying to save the Panzerschrecks, and so far they do, so maybe the Panzerschrecks can kill off at least one T-34. Nate, though, is responding. You can see that both of these players are good players, knowing what they do with their micro. And the 60mm mortars continue to keep the infantry of Nate out of the forest.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of focus going to be in this very small area now for the start of the game, because this seems like reinforcements and everything. Right now, all the micro is focused in this area, because it's just like you said, if Bowser gets pushed out of that hill, it's extremely hard to come back. And seeing how they're both the same income type and all that, both players really want to take this specific area. But yeah, the speed of the T-34s did some great, but now a lot of the P4s are coming back up. So we'll see how this is, if he managed to push him out of the third force there. It looks good for Emperor at the moment.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that he didn't brought his Jagdpanzer further forward. Maybe on the river side, overlooking the edge of the river and the edge of the hill as well. I think that would be pretty nice to threaten the Panzer IVs permanently. But he still does pretty well dealing with the Panzerschrecks now. Not quite getting the kill on the Panzer IV yet, but yeah, trading one T-34 for a Panzer IV, also a solid trade there. So overall, this fight is going pretty well for Nate.
Yeah, Very much so. Yeah, it's just like you said. I think that if you could have like a tank down in the city, especially from blue side, there's some sniping spot you can do up on the back side where these Vanatori Motos are hiding. But so it's like you say that Jagdpanzer is quite a big, important tank that isn't doing very much at the moment.
Yeah, also the Jagdpanzer, unlike the T-34, trades extremely well against Panzer IVs because it has just the right amount of frontal armor to be nearly impenetrable to them. So in 1v1 situations, the Jagdpanzers are one of the best tanks you can have when it comes to cost efficiency in dueling against Panzer IVs. Now we see the first J-87 coming out. It gets its bomb that's dropped, but the spread was too wide, so the T-34 survives, thanks to the Flak 41 helping out.
Yeah, I really think that the Flak 41 seems a far back because it's quite good against all the tanks on Bowser's side as well. But those, I think that just the threat of those mortars really keeps that Flak having to be much further from the front line than it actually wants to be to efficiently, like fully defend this area.
Yeah, I think Nate is a bit overly worried in his playstyle about Bowser being a super aggressive player, and that's why he is like not taking any chances, having his Flak 41 pretty far back, having his Jagdpanzer pretty far back. He doesn't want to lose the early game. It looks like he's comfortable in going into the mid game, and that's what we saw in the couple of games that I got to cast of him earlier this season as well. He's not, even though he plays Vanguard, he's not the guy who needs to end it in the early game. Well, Bowser is always a guy who wants to end it in the first 20 minutes, so maybe that's Nate's goal here, trying to make the game longer, trying to get Bowser into a scenario where trading is more important than just capturing flags, and maybe trying to win out there.
Yeah, wow, did you look at that? 88 got a single shot snipe onto the Bowser plane. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, the IAR there going down in flames. The ME-109 just so slightly getting out, even though the Hotchkiss 25mm are also pretty dangerous.
Yeah, but it's very much like you just said, like Nate Emperor's income is probably more of a counter to have the same income to withstand the initial push and then try to withhold over the long time, because if you get up that slow grind, get up some AA, then your Sturm Tigers are going to be much more efficient if you have the proper AA to defend it, because there's not that many things that Bowser has now other than the cluster bombers to really deal with the Sturm Tigers.
Yeah, for sure the open territory in the south should be the territory where Nate is superior, like Tigers, Jagdpanzer IVs, Storm Tigers, all of that should be helping him winning there. So as long as he can hold the north for long enough that he can then invest into the south, and with the Tiger and two T-34s, I'm not too worried about him right there at the moment. He should be pretty fine in the long run. As soon as he can start investing into the south, I think Bowser might be in trouble. And now we see the first interesting investment on the side of Nate. A 105mm artillery piece, so he really wants to go for a long run. Bringing in artillery this early, trying to let it pay off over time. Because if Bowser cannot do anything about it, this 105mm might win Nate the game in the long run.
Yeah, I think so, especially now as we see everything's happening in a very small area. Which makes it help a lot, because then it's like if you see how Bowser's units are clustered, it's actually one of the few times artillery is better than it usually is in 1v1. But on the other side, I don't agree with the choice of artillery, because I think that the 105 that he brought in is not very much good compared to like the SK-18 or like the 150mm instead.
Yeah, also his T-34s now get picked up one by one, looks like, because he didn't have his Tiger in position to secure them. So he's down on T-34s, and the Panzerschreck is still alive, so the Tiger, it might still be in trouble if it moves further forward now.
Yeah, like...
if he loses that, he is in a big trouble. Tiger now moving to the north.
A lot of things now, just the last minute, but if he needs to stop this bleeding of units to not really get pushed back really far back.
Yeah, and now the rush comes in. Bowser took his time this time to get the rush in, but now he has a lot of 20mm armored cars, 3 Panzer IVs as well to support it. And in the CQC scenario, Tiger isn't even that great against Panzer IVs, because it has the slower rate of fire, and the frontal armor is penetrable for Panzer IVs in the CQC scenario, so Nate has to be careful. The one Tiger alone will not cut it. Though he has Panzer IVs coming up, he has a Pak 40, but that one is pinned down right now. And he maybe even could move the Flak 41 forward to help him out.
Yeah, hopefully. Those mortars are really doing good work here. But it's like you say, the Tiger is just an expensive P4 really in these conditions. And now when it's outnumbered, it doesn't stand much of a chance, even if it has triple guns. But at least managed to get the 1 P4 before now getting totally decimated. But it looks very, very thin on Emperor's side. And Nate's Jagdpanzer still isn't there. But at least he's doing stuff elsewhere and actually trying to take the city down in these. But that city is really hard to take now, because just as we see, as Bowser takes it, he gets that hill to shoot down into the city, which makes it a lot easier to kill a lot of the infantry down there and support his own, even if they're very much outnumbered.
So the Panzer IVs and the Pak 40 of Nate have to do a good job here. Already got 1 kill on 1 Panzer IV and killed a couple of horse. So yeah, he has the veterancy advantage on his Panzer IVs, so it looks quite okay. He doesn't get the kill on this Panzer IV though. If he loses his Panzer IV here, that would be devastating, and he gets unlucky there. With the better veterancy, he still loses the 1v1 situation against the E4 commander there. That's unlucky.
Yeah.
At the same time, his 105mm, even though it has pretty accurate fire onto the 60mm mortars, didn't got a single kill onto them yet, which is also pretty unlucky.
It's as I say, this is why I don't like this artillery, because it doesn't perform, I think.
Yeah, it's for sure not one of the better ones here. SK-18s are, I think, the better 105mm gun by quite a margin.
Yes.
So Jagdpanzer finally moving in the north. And there's not too many tanks right now left for Bowser. He brings in 2 more right now. But on the hill it's only 1. His horse right now start to die against the Flak 41. So is he overextending here maybe? We will see.
Yeah. He lost, as we could see, like he was really, really overwhelming, but then pushing out of the forest after winning it, he really lost a lot of steam. And there's now coming the reinforcements here for Emperor, which, unfortunately though, that horse alone is going to be able to stop all of these reinforcements. I feel that now he's bringing in some P4s, but I feel they're a bit late, because it feels like last meta, where you spam him a bunch of infantry. Here, I think, compared to last meta, the armored support for the infantry was important then, but it's even more important now. I feel that's one of, if not the biggest deciding factor, and one of the most important thing in the current meta is like how well you perform with your infantry support weapons, be it MG42s or armored cars or medium tanks.
Well, he kills the last remaining Panzer IV on the hill though, with sure a couple more coming up, but at the moment it looks really kind of balanced again. Bowser maybe getting a bit too far forward with his horse there, getting them outside of the cover of the Panzer IVs for a bit, because they are obviously quite a bit faster vehicle. And then he lost quite a couple of them, then his Panzer IVs caught up, but they also only traded 1-to-1 with Nate's. So overall Nate had the better trades here, killing off the horse and the Panzer IVs, but only losing his Panzer IVs. Though losing the Jagdpanzer in the north is a bit devastating, because Panzer IVs and 20mm halftracks are pushing in there now as well. And the infantry of Nate gets totally annihilated there. And I think they will all die before the 2 Panzer IVs there arrive to relieve them.
Exactly. And in the north city, you could see the Jagdpanzer just go down, which was pretty much what held up his defense there. And man, these mortars, even though they were getting shot at, they keep on pounding Nate. And Nate's artillery is, just as I was about to say, silent. It actually started to kick into action. But even if it's not that good, he brought it in with the extra munitions. He hasn't been using it that much. I've only seen it fired once towards the mortars, and after the first salvo, it fell silent.
I think there's enough. I think it fired twice, but still didn't kill a single 60mm mortar crew. Not just saying a whole mortar. It didn't even kill a single man of any of the crews, or the supply truck. Like, it dealt 0 damage with 2 salvos, which is would be pretty frustrating to me at least, and I think it should be pretty frustrating for Nate as well, that these mortars just don't get silenced by his artillery at all. If you invest a combined 115 points into it, you expect more there.
Yeah, I think that's 2 things I would do differently personally from Nate's side. Is I would skip the T-34s, bring even more P4s, and instead of taking this artillery, if I wanted artillery, I would take the 150 or the 100mm SK-18 there. They, I think, perform a lot better. And I'm actually one, I think, that do use artillery even in 1v1 somewhat, comparably to seeing how good it is. But yeah, if this artillery piece, I don't ever bring it in unless it's a deck that doesn't have anything else, and I really feel I need artillery in the deck. So this is, I feel, is like the T26 in Rapana. Like, you bring it in because that's all you got. That's kind of choice for that artillery for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. The artillery really still hasn't killed a single crew member. Okay, now it's also firing off target, but it's kind of devastating. The Panzer IV trade's going pretty evenly at the moment, so Nate is holding on there. But yeah, let's see how it goes. And now he's firing smoke shells. What? Okay, I think that's a misclick. I'm pretty sure that's a misclick instead of HE.
Now he wants to give a theatric entrance of the T4s coming up over the hill out of the smoke.
Yeah.
And look at that! Like even a fully loaded ammunition cart can just like go in straight into the artillery fire, and don't give a single rat's ass about the incoming howitzer shells from Nate.
So Bowser now up to 59, and that's really bad for Nate. That's 12 minutes. Losing the Panzer IV in the south as well to a Ju-87 D5. And it's kind of interesting that Nate didn't got a fighter yet. Like, I would have expected a Dora in B.
Yeah, especially in this game. It says, I think the Sturmtiger also, it's just below the like you said, the safe Jagdpanzer threshold against the P4, but as you can see, it's so, things are so mashed up here in the on the hill that it would certainly, a lot of units are very cramped, so that is really where you want to Sturmtiger things. And on the other side, I think one thing that Bowser really helps him compared to Nathan is that Bowser has much bigger investment of his units in armor over infantry, and also some other support. And on his side, you also see recon units spotting stuff out, while Nate has a vast majority in, maybe not as much in this specific tick, but really spent a lot of money on infantry with some supporting around elements, while it feels more that for Bowser the plan is to support the tanks with infantry, while Nate is going for supporting the infantry with his tanks.
We have a really interesting fight here between the Regida and the Jagdpanzer, with the Regida finally getting the upper hand by getting the gun jammed. Yeah, now it should be able to get the kill there. No, the Jagdpanzer is falling back. Can it get out of range? No, it can't. Yeah, Regida finally getting the kill. It was close. One more shot from the Jagdpanzer and the Regida might have been pinned down. But in the end, the Regida prevailed. That was an interesting fight for sure. The Regidas can be absolutely devastating against the forces of Nate. But he gets at least a kill on the north on one of them. Though, yeah, there's a lot of armored forces now on this hill for Bowser, with Panzer Shreks and support, and now also quite a bit of infantry coming in, and oh, it's so sad. This 105mm really still hasn't killed a single member of Bowser's forces. Not a single guy has died to these artillery barrages that look pretty big. Like, these explosions look pretty big, but they seem to to little to no damage whatsoever, even with accurate fire.
Yeah, I think it tells a lot about that because it's been firing a lot even with and without accurate fire, and still this is the performance. So, yeah, and I'm not really recommending it. It looks very grim right now for Nate, as Bowser, if he managed to now take the other ledge here, it's actually Nate that's on the part where it's very hard to retake the hill.
Yeah.
And now he seems to be losing the Flak 88 as well.
Yeah, Flak 88 is going down, so that's his AA. And his Panzers are also getting into a territory where they're absolutely not comfortable. No infantry support whatsoever for them. Panzer Shreks all around. And also Panzer 3s don't trade too well against Panzer 4s. I'm not quite sure why he brought them. Maybe he's out of tanks in B phase. That's why. But it's for sure not looking great for him in this battle.
It might be. I do think also that Panzer 3 has, because now it's T4, so you don't have the same upper hand, but against normal P4s, they at least have the the slight upper hand of the AP toggle, which really helps a lot of tank battles, I feel. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no AT on the infantry that Nate just sent up, and there are 3 scary vehicles here that will... Wow, there's a lot of points in infantry here that are not going to have anything to hold up against these tanks here, or an armored... It's tank and armored car.
Well, the Jagdpanzer at least killed one of them. If Albaza isn't careful, he might lose another one to it.
Ooh, it seems to be happening.
Yeah,
and Panzer
should be able to get another kill there. There we go. Not a Flak 41 coming up, but it's a 14-10, and Nate still is in a pretty rough spot, with all the air forces of Bowser really being the deciding factor here. Like, if the air forces would be more even, and like Nate would have some units to shut these HS-129s and J87 D5s down, I would say there is still hope, but yeah, with now the Jagdpanzer in the north dying to it, there's next to nothing he can still do in this game. It's just too overwhelming everywhere in the north now.
But yeah, it's tough for Harriman Göring as well, because air is their weakest tab, right? They usually you only get a card of cluster planes and maybe a card of fighters, and even that is quite expensive. So they usually rely on the AA, the Flak 88s. They have a decent amount, which is, I think, very good in this matchup. And they've been doing work, but when everything else just fails, they won't be able to win the game for you.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if this... I think this game was played on the latest... Yeah, it was placed on the latest patch. So fighters are quite a bit more capable. Like, it's not as easy anymore to micro against them and get your bomber out, because the attack angle got changed by a lot, like from 15 to 50% attack angle. And so your planes don't have to be right behind or right in front of a plane to shoot at it anymore. So I think the Dora is really... sure, it's a really expensive plane, but it is worth the investment now to deal with J87s and HS-129s. So I would have got it in. Like, Flak 41s only are your shield usually, but they don't kill off enemy planes, and at some point you have to start killing them off to be comfortable. But obviously, with the trades on the ground, it was also hard to get into that investment for Nate, and yeah, Bowser just traded a bit too efficiently throughout the game, including Nate getting in a third piece that didn't get any return whatsoever. Like, it's now fired onto that Regida for what feels like 5 salvos. Maybe it's... I think it's closer to 3, but still. The Regida didn't lost a single man. 3 salvos, and not a single crew member of the Regida has gone down. And this is just getting real sad here.
Salvo. It takes a full salvo to pin it without even actually damaging it, and that's not what you want to invest over 100 points doing. And now it's actually getting shot off before he even gets to do anything else. Yeah, Bowser's really putting the nail in the coffin here by pushing very far up, too close to spawn. And this says a lot. One of his SPWs up here in the front line just died, but it even ran out of APHE ammunition before it managed to die.
Yeah, flag 41 also going down now. Yeah, everything is going really downhill now for Nate. And I wouldn't, at this point, I think I wouldn't mind him surrendering because the situation just got completely out of control, and like there's no way you can save this game. So yeah, pretty well played here by Bowser in this game. Nate also showed some nice play in the middle, but yeah, the the misinvestment in the artillery really seemed to hurt him a lot. Like if that would have been 2 more Panzer IVs, he would have held the front line quite a bit better, I would say. So yeah, it was a rough game here, with that artillery piece really representing the issues that Nate had in this game. Yeah,
I think some like you say, some weird choices of units, but also I think that the how he distributed his units didn't really help in the fight, and I think that was one of the things that Bowser saw, that this fight is not going to be about how many infantry squads each side has. It's whoever has the supporting armored car tanks surviving. Ooh, we see the HS 129 actually getting an aerial kill.
Yeah,
that's the first time.
To add insult to injury, in HS 129 just shut down a J87. Oof. Yeah, this is the point where in Nate's place I would just tap out and say, yeah, let's get over this one. Let's jump into the next one. Let's just tick it off. It's a best of 5, so there's still room for error here. It's not like, oh, Bowser is on match point. He still has to win 2 more to get the series. So Nate for sure still has potential to come back in this, and I would just say, yeah, let's just not do this here. Let's focus on the next one. Let's have a better one in game number 2. Because he only has infantry by now, and sure, another kill for his J87 there, but and the south still doesn't look too bad, but you can't win this map on the south. Like, you can lose it there, but you can't win it there. You need the north to at least be even, or like maybe 1 flag down. You can't just like take the south and then be happy with it. There's just too many flags.
I do think that the blue side can actually take the south because the city really helps them to be able to take a double tick with the 3 flags there. But I always feel like whenever I see red side try to push for a double tick, it just never works, because I feel like the second wave of blue flags is so far back. It's really hard to take them, and I rarely see them taken in a game where the red just isn't like winning, totally decimating the enemy anyway. So that's what I feel about this south. Like if you're red, you can maybe take like a single flag or 2 flags up here, but whenever it feels always too costly to push beyond that. While blue actually on this map has the potential of pushing a triple tick in the open area.
Well, but getting the full-on town is not that easy either, because like red has this hill on the island, red has a lot of forests there as well in the back. So yeah, it's possible, but I don't think I have seen it more than once or twice in the whole time that I'm casting this. Like, I actually think I have seen more times that red has taken over the south than I have seen blue winning with taking the south and taking a double or triple tick there.
I see. Maybe we have some different experience there, but yeah, it's also, you don't even need to take the last flag, because if you take the middle, you usually have the south flag as well. So you have the red flags are much more further to the middle line in general. But yeah, this game was very much not a lot happening here, and it's quite interesting though, especially now as we saw for the new year, Eugen announcing that they're going to do some changes with maps. So maybe we'll see some flag rebalancing, and that would be very interesting, I would say.
Yep. Yeah, I also, yeah, there were a lot of interesting things in there. The 6v6 mod sounds interesting as well. Not for me, but I think that's the best, like the better form of 10v10. Like, sure, you still have a lot of spam there, but it's more manageable and like a bit more balanced, when you can talk about balance in that size. And then the most interesting line for me was them talking about smaller maps, which I'm not sure if they talked about small changes to maps or if they really want to give us smaller maps for, because they talked in the same line about like tactical games. So it would be really cool to have like Normandy 44 sized versions of maps, and then like you play with half income or like 3/4 income. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah, probably. Like, I could see like not like much smaller, but somewhat smaller maps, because as we've seen, sometimes a lot of new players, they feel a bit overwhelmed playing the game. There's so many, like the front line is so wide, and the fighting gets decided so quick. So you need to be doing a lot of things in a lot of places, often especially in the beginning. That might be a way to ease newer players into the game as well, by having not as stressful and wide front to deal with at the very beginning of as you start playing the game.
Yeah. So that's game number 1, guys. Yeah, Bowser taking a comfortable victory there. So we will go into a short break and we'll then be back with game number 2 for you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. See you guys there. Hope you enjoyed game number 1. More in the pipeline. So here we are back, guys, right into game number 2. And it's another Axis versus Axis. And it's Nate again in blue on the left. But we have different divisions on both sides. With Bowser on another one of his favorite divisions because it has a lot of speed. And it has armored cars. It's interesting that Nate didn't really check out Bowser's picks, it looks like. I guess the bands were the pretty standard ones instead of like the anti-Bowser ones, because 17th SS is for sure is one of his favorites as well. The traction is just pretty cool to play with, and then it has 20mm stuff as well. So I
very much agree, and it's a very Bowser here. You see the SPW train in the south coming up now, But and at the same time, Nate does a risky play, having a Stalin out without any AA to protect it. But let's see how this SPW rush. It might be very, very significant for how this game goes, how this initial push goes. Ooh, but the SPW pushes past the infantry and right into a tank train. This doesn't look very good.
Yeah, that's a slaughter there. Not gonna lie. But
and they're having a smoke party up on the hill at the same time.
SS Legionaries also not doing too well right now.
Yeah, they're getting
the Pioneers TNTs, you have like half of them. Like, sure they don't surrender, so that's helpful, but all the shots from the different tanks and the Pioneers TNTs really messed with them. They win out in the end, but it was a heavy investment of Legionaries, not achieving too much there.
Yeah, they don't even have the... they don't even take the flag. And what was that? Like, Bowser really went all in for that rush. That was a lot of points, and he lost all of it. What did he kill? Like 2 infantry squads?
Yeah, something like that. Like, I think like 2 or 3 Panzer Grenadiers now. Oh no, I think 2 Pioneers and 2 Panzer Grenadiers dying. So in the end, 4 infantry squads, 4 half-tracks, and like 4 or 5 Legionary squads.
Yeah.
That was quite a hefty price there paid by him. And yeah, now the whole initiative goes over to Nate, who again plays the counter Vanguard. Staying in a Vanguard versus Vanguard situation here.
Exactly, and especially now with the P-Force rolling up on this hill, now there's nothing that really can prevent them as long as they don't get into the Faust range of Legionaries and the infantry support coming up. It really shifted quickly. Yeah,
that's a lot of infantry going into the middle. A couple of martyrs coming up for Bowser, but they are not the best infantry support, that's for sure, so I don't know if you can stop this. Like, this will be a rough situation here for the next couple of minutes for Bowser after that horrible start into game number 2.
He really lost his early momentum. And that's one thing also, we didn't really have time as the game really started quickly, talking about the divisions, but I feel that 20th Panzer is a great Axis versus Axis division with a high amount of P-Force. They're very good, especially against Axis, but a good division overall. While I do feel that 17th is really lost a lot of their power compared to earlier with the like MG buff and all that, where the less infantry and more medium tank and like armored car has become more prevalent in the meta. I think that has hurt the 17th from being like previously one of the best or like A-tier Axis division to actually now being just upper middle half, I feel, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know. With all the armored cars, and I mean, they also have Stuck Force, which are also pretty decent in Axis versus Axis. I think they're still pretty decent. Ooh, let's see if the JOT-8 can actually manage something here. Looks like it will get through. No planes on the side of Nate coming out yet. Ooh, this might be a game changer here.
Yeah.
Killing off the border Stalin that early on without... What? Did it drop all its bombs?
It's the bad cluster plane with the bad clusters.
Oh, I thought it's the... Okay, I thought the JOT-8S1 is the good one. Isn't there a JOT-8 that is also really devastating? Or is that the...
Yeah, there's 2 cluster, like anti-tank cluster JO-88. There's one with like the JO-87 cluster bomb kind of like, and this one which has like a different type of bomb load, which is, as you could just see right now, much smaller like area. It's more of a thin line than like a carpet, and it doesn't deal as much damage as we just saw. And the Stalin survives, even though it's ran out of all of its HE shells, supporting that southern area.
Yeah, it was also pretty damaged by now, so 1 more or 2 more penetrations of APCR shells maybe can do the job, but obviously you first have to get those.
Zooming in, it's not very damaged. It's just, I feel like it's just like the first state of damage if you look at the skin.
I think it's a second. It has quite a couple of dents and it's already rusty. Like, I think the first one is just a couple of dents, and then the rest comes. So I think it's Half-Life. That's what this stage is. It would be really nice if Eugen finally could give us health indicators as they talked about last year. Like Matt said they would bring them in. But we all know Eugen always has a lot of pet projects and not the fastest in implementing them. But I guess they will come eventually. And I'm
At the
really
same
looking
time,
forward
though, Bowser managed to get back up on the hill just before Emperor managed to secure the hill, which is quite important. And these mortars hopefully will maybe then be able to deal with these Panzer Frees.
Yeah, there's no infantry AT on the side, on either side there right now. So if whoever wins this tank battle wins the hill, like at least for the next minute or so, maybe even longer. So looks kind of okay here for Bowser. Yeah, Panzer 3 goes down.
I feel that the Panzer Grenadiers actually does a very good work, because having the Panzer Frees shoot at the Panzer Grenadiers makes it so that the mortar, while they don't have a turret, so they should take more time to align, they catch up a lot faster because the Panzer IV is shooting the infantry instead of being ready for the mortars coming up.
Also, mortars have the faster aim time, which in CQC makes them actually surprisingly good. Like, if they're not completely out of position rotation-wise and like, the enemy comes from behind or so, they do surprisingly well in 1v1 scenarios. As you can see, yeah, when they drive directly into the enemy, they shoot pretty fast there. And Bowser saves the situation on the hill.
Yeah, he managed to. Yeah, I think that would have been a huge hit if he lost that. But I'm also surprised, like, we didn't see any toggling there. Like, he was using APCR and he got off a hit, and I think that was one thing that the P-freeze, especially if you see it up against mortars, you want to use the normal AP instead of the APCR. But even better to toggle than to get the more shots off.
Yeah, I also wouldn't call it a huge hit. I would have just called it GG at that point, I think. If Bowser, like, losing this hill as the red side is so devastating. It's like nigh impossible to recover from it. I mean, Yates is still in a really good spot here, up to 59, has the most part of the town. Boy the Stallion still alive, but at least Bowser is in a situation where he can come back now with the mortars on the hill, with the Stuk 4, which deals pretty well with the Panzer Force.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Bowser really needs to take this on hill, because it's not, as you said, only hard to retake. It's a triple tick of losing that. So he managed to sneak past some infantry to really take back a lot, and that also gives him good information on, you know, that whatever is on Nate's side is the things that's up against the front line. So if he has managed to take that, he can really, like, push through. But we don't see the Boy to Stalin hasn't really. It's out of HE ammunition, but it really hasn't been. Just like the artillery before, he's not really utilizing that resource. But on the other hand, Nate does have complete air dominance, and we've seen these bombers coming in time and time again, taking out an infantry or AT gun here and there, and those ships really hurt.
Also, the Flak 41 and the Boy to Stalin each killed the mortar on the hill now, so the armor advantage is for sure now back in the favor of Nate, and this still looks pretty good for him. Like, he has this force of infantry behind Bowser's line that could be annoying when he brings them into the forest in range of the supply route, something like that. He has an off-map now coming up to maybe take back the hill with a lot of infantry following them in. Stuk 4, I think, are the way for maybe Bowser getting rid of the Panzer Force, but there's a Pak 40 now accompanying those, and all of this makes the town fight hard. And yeah, the northern hill, sure, it is red now again, but if you look at the forces on the hill, it's actually really even, with Bowser not really bringing in that much reinforcements, while there's 3 or 4 Panzer Grenadiers on the way there again for Nate, together with an off-map. So I'm again worried for Bowser's north.
Yeah, Nate just, with the MGs and these P4s now, he shot off the reinforcement road for Bowser up, which is quite big.
Yeah, 13-11 for Nate. South is not playing a role whatsoever in this game. Like, both sides have next to no units there. 2 MG42s for Nate, a couple of anti-tank guns, and Panzer Grenadiers for El Bowser. That's all that is present there. Like, maybe it's a way for El Bowser to put some pressure on by using some armored cars. Like, some recon cars there could wreak absolute havoc, take 3 to 4 flags, but he has to realize that, and then he also has to have the points to actually do it, to get in there. Meanwhile, his Pak-43 Krupp gets caught out in the open, gets engaged by Pak-40, which is a pretty interesting duel. Not something you see every day. Pak-43s versus Pak-40s, and I'm not quite sure who will get the upper hand here. Looks like maybe the Pak-40 now.
Yeah, and another JU. I'm surprised that the boy to Stalin is just chilling out and not doing much at all. Especially now that you see that you have the 88 Krupp like disembarked so far back that you at least don't put these like covering the reinforcement road in the middle of the city with the Stalin or anything.
Well, it's out of HE shells, so I think he just wants to resupply it before he moves it further forward. I'm not saying that's the best idea, but I understand why he is not using it right now. So yeah, I don't know, like, sure, the AP shells should also be used, so I think I would move it further forward, but you don't want to lose it to the 88. And yeah, so having it right next to your AA, I think, is the safe bet. Though it should stay on the road and not just in the middle of nowhere where its line of sight is completely useless.
Yeah. Up on the hill, Nate is a really lot of infantry. Not much to deal with that single martyr though, but hopefully there's a T-34 coming up. And oh, never mind. There's a JU to deal with that. And
he actually, I think, could also just roll on next to it with his Ersatztruppen and kill it off with normal hand grenades, because it's an open top vehicle after all. But yeah, he manages it with the J87D5, and now he has like 10 infantry squads on the hill against 0 on the side of El Bowser, and the whole hill is falling back in the hands of Nate.
And this is a smart placement here of the off map on the reinforcement road. So he has MGs and a tank to try to stop it, and then hopefully, unfortunately, 2 units gets through, but I don't think that's going to be enough. But they're really shutting down this bridge here to really establish his hold.
Yeah, the Volksdeutsche arrived too late. 2 Panzer Grenadiers are in position already, so the Volksdeutsche cannot do much there. And yeah, they're already inferior in a normal 1v1 situation. When they're in no cover against infantry in cover, they don't stand a chance whatsoever. So yeah, I think Nate is getting to even out the series right now. It looks really, really devastating here for Mr. Bowser.
I think we see a lot of infantry now, even though I feel like a lot of the fights has really been decided, like I said earlier, with a lot of the tank battles actually. In there with the Panzer 3s and 4s and some Stugs here and there fighting it out with the Martyrs. And that's a game that Nate wants to play, but not Bowser, because yeah, you do have some nice things like the Krupps and some Stug Force, but there is we're fighting mainly in city now, where it's usually where the Stugs aren't that well, and the P4s really dominate them.
And I think Bowser did a big mistake by investing even more into the south without investing into a push there. Like, he invested into a couple of MG42s there. They finally do a job dealing with one MG42 there of Nate, but it's not the decisive push he needs, and now he alerted Nate to the presence of forces there, alerted Nate to the lack of forces of his own, and yeah, he will not get to do much there before Nate's reinforcements arrive, which are quite heavy in number. Like 2 MG42s, 2 Panzer Grenadiers, and a Panzer 4G should be able to hold off all the forces there that are pushing off El Bowser.
It's exactly. It's like you say. He had the forces to take the point, but he didn't have the forces to like follow through with the push. He has 2 IGs coming up, but yeah, that's not going to do too well against whatever reinforcements Nate is bringing up here. And Nate, at the same time, has the air game. And if you have the air game, you're going to be a lot better at whenever the front line or focus of the battle shifts to another front.
Yes, yeah, like all the AA of Bowser is centered in the north, so the south is completely open to airstrikes. And yes, like I would have loved to see a armored car push in the south with one Stuk for to help it out, but I think both sides got a bit too focused on the north, which I think is the difference between this and maybe Division 1, where like, people realize faster when they have to shift forces. Like, both of these guys have good micro, both of these guys play a good game when they're wherever they are focused on, but maybe the shift in focus comes a bit too late.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And yeah, it's happening as we said. Emperor has really reinforced the hill, and now Bowser has to take the long road of up the hill through the river with infantry. And seeing just how much infantry is here, it seems like it's pretty firmly in Nate's hand now, this second game.
Yeah, like, there's only one Stuk. The Pack 43 on the side of Bowser went down. There's a Pack 43, 41 on Emperor's side. And the Stalin is also still, like, even if he kills off a lot of forces there, he can't push because the Stalin just comes around and stops it. And yeah, even in the south he starts to lose out now. Like, the infantry traits so far are better there for Emperor as well. Okay, now the infantry IGs can at least kill off the Panzer Grenadiers. But there's a Panzer IV, there's a Flak 41 coming up, so no way Bowser is going anywhere there either.
Yeah, exactly. It looks pretty, and I think, yeah, it was tough. Also, like I said earlier, I really feel that the division pick here of 17th maybe wasn't the best against 20th. I don't think it's a good matchup because, as you saw, we've seen some infantry fights, but the fights have been more the deciding fights have been more other fights such as tank, etc. And there is really what 20th does best, and not really the strong suit of the 17th.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a bad matchup per se, but I think it's a bad matchup when it comes to a Bowser playing it, because I think in this matchup, 17th is actually the division that has to play the long game, because they have the better late game, with 20th Panzer getting all their nice stuff like the Board Stalin and so on in A phase, and having the weaker artillery game and so on, and the weaker air game as well. So I think it's better to play it the long game, and like using your Pack 43s and so on, instead of doing that rush that like basically was the thing that Bowser is still trying to catch up from. Like the rush in the north was quite unnecessary. But obviously Bowser is never the guy to play the defensive part of a game. Like, he always wants to be the aggressor, he always wants to be the guy who decides how a game is going. And in this game, it totally backfired. His push in the beginning of the game was an absolute massacre. And
yeah, it was a disaster. I'm quite surprised that, like, I think he must have been looking elsewhere playing that, because like he didn't even try to redirect the train, as they just ran into the his recon cars just ran into the Panzer IIIs and IVs.
Yeah, I don't even know if it had any chance of success, because no matter where Panzer IVs would have shown up, like either in the north or in the middle road, they would have caught these half-tracks, or like these armored cars. So I was really surprised by that push. And yeah, it didn't work out whatsoever. I would have expected it in the center more so, like, because in the center usually both sides don't play with too many forces, and you can also go to a lot of interesting places there. Like, it felt really off, and as we figured out, it also really didn't do much.
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to matchup, it's like you said, when you have 17th, you have a good amount of armored cars, but in this matchup, the armored cars aren't a rush component, because 20th has a lot of P4s and anti-tank guns, so getting a successful armored car rush on them is going to be quite difficult. But on the other, especially if you're unlucky and choose to push wherever the 20th decide to put a lot of their tanks, but instead to use them for the long game, using them a little by little to support your infantry, you know, having them like go around corners, shoot support to kill some infantry, and then if they find enemy P4s, then they need to hide away, instead of just going for a train trying to rush enemy spawn.
What is really interesting is that L. Bowser actually manages to win the South right now. He won the air war because the Flak 41 of Nate somehow got out of position. He killed the tanks there, and he actually captured 2 flags by now, bringing it back to 13-11, whilst also not completely getting killed off in the north. There, Nate is still in the advantage though, so it's now back to 59, but...
yeah. I think it's still difficult. He's losing the city, and also I would say it's a lot easier for Nate to just put up some AA, which he puts up now. The 33 flag are great. Put some tanks, infantry, just walk up and take back the flags, compared to what Bowser has to do. Because that river is so big, he can't bring any armored support up there to support his infantry. I'm surprised that like Nate doesn't move like one of these T-34s or like a tank up there, because that would be quite like with an AA piece or something, because that would really shut down all infantry that comes up. But yeah, as we see now, he's got to get a push. But if I don't think that the sudden push here for Bowser is gonna last. It's gonna last for a while, but even with the successful push, he's still the one getting ticked down, and I think that this is not a push that's going to last.
Yeah, it's for sure, like the trades he gets here are for sure less efficient than the trades that Nate gets in the north. And yes, it's, as you said, like Nate got the town now in the north. Nate annihilated quite a couple of units there lately, even now starting to kill off a Flak 36 there maybe, which would be really devastating for Bowser in the north, because that means Nate can also use his air forces there once again, not just in the south. And yeah, Panzer IV is now coming in the south for Nate. And like, yeah, I didn't thought like, oh yeah, L. Bowser's maybe bringing it back, but I was still surprised that he at least got as far as he got there in the south, because I would have expected Nate to shut it down earlier. But I guess L. Bowser still played pretty well here, but it shouldn't be enough in the long run. 13-11 still ticking, 12 minutes on the clock for L. Bowser, and it looks like it will get back to a 59 eventually. Because, yeah, the Flak 36s in the north both get, like, one is already down, second one gets eliminated right now by the T-34s, who are finally pushing. And this way the Ju-87D5 can come in, can deal with the Stuk 4. Boyd Stalin and T-34s are slowly but surely moving in there as well. And the infantry fight in the north is going okay for L. Bowser, but it's not like he can get anywhere from there fast enough before Nate can react to it.
Exactly, and it's also like you said that yeah, the long game he has here, he spent a lot of the Reaping cars in the early rush, so he can't have that support anymore. And yes, yeah, as we see now, his southern is crumbling a lot harder than even though he gets this back. Nate can reinforce it, which really still Bowser hasn't been able to retake the reinforcement point up to the hill other than moving up the ridge.
Yes, so the 14-10 is in favor of Nate, and he just trades quite a bit better right now than L. Bowser, who still keeps the southern infantry push going, thanks to his Pak 43 and his Flak 41, who keep at least the tanks of Nate away, but Nate still has the Air Force. Now striking the Pak 43. 59 is up.
Yeah. Oh, Nate doesn't want to do this. He's going to lose his plane here. That thing goes too far, I think. Oh, and now flies over the Flak 88. It might still make it because the forest blocked a lot of shots, but it's like you said, Nate has a lot of bombers. The Air Force we've seen from Bowser is the cluster plane and the fighter here and there. So his Air Force, other than killing a tank, I think 1-2 tanks, maybe the cluster plane killed, they haven't really supported the land. While Nate's bombers have killed several like Pak 15s and similar.
Yeah, we see the off-map vehicle in the north getting used actually with its MG after using all its off-maps to hold the flag, and that might be really annoying for the infantry of Bowser to trying to get this one killed off. It really holds the flag well there, and we're back into 59 territory.
Yeah, it's like we said earlier, because Nate holds the reinforcement road, there's not much Bowser can do. At least, like, he might be able to have some bombers or cluster, but he doesn't have that many of them.
Okay,
and they recharge really slow.
I don't understand,
really
and I don't understand Nate here at all. He kills the Pack 43, sure, with his fighter plane, but instead of hunting down the J-88 with it, he just calls it back and lets both of his Panzer IVs die to the cluster bomber. That was a bit of an unnecessary mistake there by Nate, letting his tanks die. I guess he doesn't like his Panzer IV commanders too much there. Like, must have been something personal. Maybe they insulted him or didn't follow any orders previously, because
exactly,
like that was an interesting move there to call the ME-109 that was directly behind the J-88 back instead of letting it kill the J-88. But it shouldn't change the result of the game too much, as it's still a 14-10, and it's J-87 now coming in for Nate in the north to kill another Stuk 4 that tries to come in. He still has a Flak 41 there, he still has the Boy the Stalin, and by now he has enough infantry again to kill off the infantry that made it onto the hill from Bowser.
The question is if he even running a supply truck in his deck, seeing how that Boy the Stalin is still alive but hasn't even gotten he hasn't seen any supply trucks trying to give it back some HE ammunition.
Well, maybe his quartermaster doesn't have any shells left. Because obviously it's a Borgia tank, so maybe they don't have any 122mm rounds for the A19 left. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe the Germans ran out of IS-2 rounds.
And like you said earlier, losing those flak in the north for Bowser really hurts him. As we can see now, he's losing another Stug 4 to a JU cluster plane. I feel that Nate has been a bit slow calling them back, because I think this is the second time he loses a JU that he could have called back a lot earlier than he actually did. And I think that the pack, like the Flak 88 on Nate's side, should move up a bit more.
Yeah, but we are up to a 16-8 now for Nate, and it's 2 minutes 40, so... Like, yeah, that... Nate maybe wanted more messier than he needed to, but he still wins it clearly here. Like, it's not as close as some of the plays might make it look like. He still has the heavy superiority in the north, and in the south it's quite an even match. Sure, Bowser pressures through because that's what Bowser does, especially if he gets under pressure. Like, he tries to put pressure onto some spot and he manages most of the time, but like, when Bowser takes territory, it's often not because of amazing traits he gets, but just of audacity of his playstyle, trying to get something in there and trying to make it count. And in this game it will not be the game changer. He gets the flag there, brings it back to 59, but even on the 14-10 there's only 3 minutes 24 on the clock, and it's good to see that Nate can fight back in the series. If he gets a hand on Bowser's early game, it looks like he for sure can stand up to Bowser's play and make it an even series. And that's really, really good to see in the best of 5, that we don't get a 3-0 stomp here, because it looks like game number 2 will get us to a 1-1.
Yeah, it's also like you said earlier, like the playstyle Bowser does, he's very aggressive. So the good part is that he's very good with those aggressive plays, but I think that that's also his weakness, is, like we said earlier, like he really goes for the enemy spawn, while sometimes he needs to, you know, sit back and relax. So I think that's one of the weaknesses of his playstyle, that he really like pushes beyond his means and then lose a lot of units, and then the gains he took can be recaptured. But what he did very good this game is what we said earlier, is that if you're losing somewhere, is that you probe somewhere else and you try to take that, which Bowser did, and it went very well. The difference though is that the part of the map that he lost was very hard, if nigh impossible to retake, while the part that he took is, as we can see now, easier for Nate to retake, and it's not as many flags as Nate is taking.
Yeah, and here we go. Bowser surrendering just before the time ticked down for him. And yeah, if you look at the KD, the game was still pretty close, but Nate was just in such a good position that even with an even trade, he still would have won it, because getting him out of these positions would have acquired even more. So yeah, game number 2 goes to Nate, aka Emperor, and we are having a series at hand here, guys. We have the 1-1 situation, and Nate makes it interesting here. After game number 1, it looked like Bowser may be a bit better player, like a bit too good maybe for Nate to get a hand on, because I think the micro of Bowser is a bit better, but Nate looks like he understands the playstyle of Bowser well and knows what he has to do to get him, like just like find a way of punishing his aggressive playstyle. And in this game it worked out. Let's see if it will work out in the next game in 4 minutes, guys. A really, really interesting series we have at hand, and I really enjoy both players' playstyle here. Absolutely worth it. Division 2, where both of these guys will go next season, obviously.
Yep, it's going to be very interesting. And now I guess we'll have a short break before we dig into the game number 3 of the best of 5.
Yes, we will be back in 4 minutes. Yeah. So, see you guys there.
Yeah, I'm at 2 seconds.
Okay, so here we go again, guys. Game number 3. Nate is catching up, so we are in a 1v1 situation, and these guys seem to love their Axis versus Axis, because we bring in 2 divisions that we already saw, but a Bowser this time on the right side again is taking up Hermann while Nate on the other side stays with what worked last game, 20th Panzer. So what do you think about that matchup?
I think, yeah, it's gonna be one of very interesting again. We see as we see here, it's gonna be a lot of the P-Force, which I feel is a very big component in the Axis mirror. And looking at the startup, it feels like one of the things we often see, this sudden forest being contested, which very much we see here by Bowser. But we might see Nate doing the debate on the south of just putting minimal forest to protect the next flag, not defending his forest flag, and then use those points to maybe take somewhere else instead.
Bowser for sure seems to be focused on the mid and the south, like the small forest in the south, while Nate has quite a lot of forces in the north. But the question is, can he hold on in the center, where there's 7 flamethrower squads, the other 2 being in the south, a couple of pioneers, 2 Panzer IVs. Oh no, 1 is going to the north actually. Oh no, 5 of the Flammenwerfer is actually going to the north. It looked like they would all go to the middle. Okay, so he actually splits out his units way more than I expected. But yeah, Nate for sure will lose the south. He actually gives it to Bowser for free, with setting his MG42 and his pack guns further behind. I'm a bit critical of not setting any AT gun into the forest next to the MG42. I think that would be the best way to doing it. Instead bringing up onto the hill, because the MG42 obviously can't do much against any armored cars or armed forces down there. So, but that means that Nate will have more stuff on the rest of the map. With giving up the south, and Bowser actually didn't realize it at first. He moved a lot of his forces off the road. Now realizing, oh, there's nothing there. Let's get in there. And instead of pushing deeper, actually diverts his units into the north, realizing that he gets the south for free anyways, and pushing any deeper most of the time is a bad idea. So in the end, it still works out for Bowser here. He gets the south for free basically, and can divert his forces before getting them unloaded. So Nate's play here didn't work out. Well played by Bowser.
Maybe you need like a single Flammenwerfer to just bait with the... On this level, when you play on this level, you need at least something to bait the front line. Otherwise, as you can see now, he doesn't unload in the forest, and then you kind of lose the point of this. Also, I think that you managed to start without telling exactly when you started, so I think we're a bit off now. So where are you at the moment?
I can't see, and I don't want to say, like, I don't want to tap, so that we don't...
You can say the elapsed, right? In the top right, without spoiling.
Oh, yeah, I can't say that. I'm at 2.8.
2.8, alright. A bit ahead then.
Now 2.15. Now 2.20.
Maybe you can tell me when you hit the 3-minute mark and we can land up there.
Okay. We'll tell you. 30 seconds now. Okay, so the community is split between Nate and Bowser. 50-50, just like the scores at the moment, with the 1-1 situation. But Bowser for sure is on the heads up now. Has the upper leg in this game, but Nate is pushing in the north. We are closing in on, like... Yeah. 5 seconds now to 3 minutes. And 3 minutes. Yeah,
and we see Nate back at 20th. I'm surprised that they keep, like, it's just, I think it's one of the great divisions that usually doesn't get banned because it's just not good enough to often get banned, but it's one of a great pick, especially in the Axis mirror here again.
Yeah, and I think both sides want to play Axis, so, like, if I would be, I would, like, like to see one player just like starting to ban Axis divisions and then play allies, because. But I guess both sides just want to play Axis, so they keep their bans per usual, and that's why these divisions here are open. Because if the top 8 Axis divisions would get banned, both of these divisions would be in there, I think.
Yeah, very much think so as well. But yeah, but I still think, as I said, the Nate might be better, because I still feel that the 20F is great at these kind of access mirrors because of the great amount of medium tanks you get, and also we can see it doing quite well for in the middle, but his investment, like we just talked about, it hasn't paid off really. It's interesting enough paying off in the north instead of the city.
Yeah, the reinforcements in the north really will become dangerous for Nate now. The reinforcements Bowser brought in there, the armored cars and the 2 Panzer 4Gs for sure could go over him there quite fast. Nate is reacting, bringing in reinforcements into the north, 2 Panzer 3Ls, couple more infantry squads. Yeah, Nate up to 1311 even after losing the flag in the south, so it took 1 flag in the middle, 1 flag in the north. That's why we got here.
Yeah, I think he's missing a chance now with his tank in the city not moving forward. There's just now another Pack 38 moved up and actually got this position, but these tanks for Nate has been holding back and not really pushing up when they actually had a great opportunity with just like a single pack, now 2 though, defending.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. Now he shouldn't push on any deeper though, because now the units of Bowser are in position, and he also doesn't have the infantry he needs anymore to get the push through. But yeah, I think there was a window of opportunity there for Nate. Now he has to fight a fighting retreat in the north. Like, he can't hold on to all the territory there, but he has to save his own flag and take as many forces of Bowser with him on the way out as possible. This looks like a really interesting game so far. Like, both sides playing a lot of mind games, like the Nate mind game in itself. Both playing a pretty good game overall as well. This game also being much more all over the place than the 2 previous games, who were more focused onto one specific spot. So we might see who is the better macro player, who has better multitasking all over the map of these 2 players in this one.
Yes, exactly. Very interesting. It's the contrast of that. Nate unfortunately lost even some infantry in the south here, trying to hold one of his southern flags when Bowser sneaking through some infantry. But just that MG surviving is going to be enough to push off these pesky infantry.
Yeah, MG42 is now really, really good on holding up against units trying to cross the open. Like, yeah, like trying to push in with infantry against MG42 is nigh impossible by now. But I'm surprised that Bowser didn't left 1 armored car in the south. Like, 1 armored car would allow him to push in there actually. Sadly, he moved all 4 into the center. I guess that was just like the fast reaction of him, like, oh no, like realizing Nate didn't invest anything into himself, was like, oh no, I need every forces that I can somewhere else, because Nate obviously has more on the other flanks then. And
yeah, and speaking. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, oh my god, the push in the north is interesting there. With the Spay wagons actually overwhelming the Panzer IIIs for a while, killing 1 of them. But now maybe going a bit too deep again. One of the classic Bowser situations there developing.
Yeah. I think that on the other, though, speaking of mind games earlier, Bowser is certainly doing it in the South Forest. You saw that Nate gave up on it, and he doesn't even have he has a Faust unit there, but he didn't bring up any AT guns, he doesn't have anything there. He's just hoping that Nate isn't gonna probe it at all. Because right now, like, just a single armor unit and maybe some other thing would be able to take those flags right now. But it will be interesting to see if Nate gives it up forever after giving up initially, or if he's actually going to try later to try to poke at it.
Yeah, meanwhile, the fight in the north is really messy, and I'm not quite sure who's winning it. I don't think any side is winning it, but both sides for sure take heavy casualties there. Whilst in the middle, it looks like Bowser slowly but surely gets the upper hand. trades a bit better with his MG42s and Panzer IVs in coordination, picking off AT guns and infantry squads one after another. And this looks really worrisome for Nate, I think, because we have again the situation that we had in game number 1 with Nate having T-34s against Panzer IVs, and as we already pointed out back then, the Panzer IVs are the better unit in this matchup.
Yeah, exactly. And as we saw, like Bowser has been trickling in infantry, a good amount of reinforcements into the middle while going all over the map. And like one big push of units into the middle has tipped the scales. Nate had the opportunity of having a lot more units in the middle for a long time, but he, as we talked earlier, he didn't capitalize on it. And now he's getting pushed back because Bowser has been able to divert enough resources to just almost roll over his forces here.
So, Bowser over... he overreacted to the north again, pushed too deep there with his forces, a classic Bowser situation, I would call that one. And now Nate has the upper hand in the north again. All Bowser has to hold it back there really is that Yak Panzer IV, but 2 Panzer IIIs and a Panzer IV, together with Pak 40, are quite dangerous there. He has a bit more infantry now, a Bowser that is there, but there's quite a lot of that coming in for Nate there as well, so maybe we'll see a trade of some flags in the middle for Nate against some flags in the north for Bowser, which I think still favors Bowser though, because the middle is really important on this map.
Yeah, and we see just like last game, Bowser, well, now having a div with very poor air, and usually don't go much for air. We see now the 8 going back to his ME-109 bombers, and I really like this with a single 250 kilo bomb. I feel it's like almost the best loadout for a fighter bomber, because it's just enough explosion to like kill an anti-tank gun or like a MG or a lot of things that annoy you, but also being the smallest of them possible, meaning that it's the fastest one to reload.
Yeah, and also being an ME-109, it's pretty cheap compared to like the Tempest or so you don't pay too much for it. It's pretty cost efficient if the enemy doesn't have any AA or so on. With the issue with ME-109 fighter bombers obviously being that they are dying faster than other fighter bomber versions, but yeah, that's not an issue in this game because there's no opposition to the airplay whatsoever from Bowser's side here.
Yeah. Ooh, we see yet again the Stalin out, and yet again there's no AA. It seems like Nate is quite behind with placing his AA this game, and it keeps on going forward. He sees the plane way too late. It's actually, I think if he would have seen the plane earlier, he would have been in a position where he could have hidden this Stalin into the city, where maybe he would have survived. But
yeah, I think that was kind of a desperation IS-2 there. Like, he realized his center is under a lot of pressure, so he was like, yeah, let's try to get it back with the IS-2. Let's hope for kind of a miracle Stalin play there. And I mean, that did quite a bit of damage, so it didn't go out without at least taking a couple of forces of Bowser down, but it wasn't quite enough, I think, to be worth the investment, especially with the J-87 getting out. With a kill on the J-87, Nate, I think, would have been in a fine spot here, but with the J-87 actually surviving, it was a good trade here for Bowser, for sure.
Yeah, I think so, but and it especially hurts for the 20th, as that's the only one you get. And now it's, like you said, he has 1 P4 and 2 infantry coming into the middle, but Bowser is just about to take the ridge, which makes it extremely hard to retake this top ridge. And yeah, going down to 16-8, it looks quite grim now for Emperor.
Yeah, he needs a well-hidden 220mm mortar off-map artillery, I think, to get the middle back together with a tank push, which needs some setup. Like, coming via the northern road, maybe trying to get in there, is the best way of dealing with it now, because just running onto the ridge, I don't think is the way of... Like, I don't think it's possible anymore against the forces that Bowser's getting in there. Maybe the other thing he could hope for is Bowser overextending and trying to push down. Like, that's That would be a classical Bowser move there.
Yeah.
We will have to see.
It would certainly be a gamble to, like you say, put some defensive forces, hope that he pushes his tanks out with the infantry for the forest. You can maybe pick them off and then push up. But yeah, it's relying on that flaw appearing, which is quite risky. And there's so little for Nate in the middle right now. And as we're now in 30 minutes in, so he still has a decent income, but I hope, I think these MEs are reloaded now, trying to help in the north, which I think it's gonna be tough. I think he needs those MEO instead of shooting the Jack Panzers like 250. They're not really good. He gets it to fall back. I don't think it's really worth it. He needs to use that instead of just take the infantry, because
Yeah, I think he needs the north to get back into this game, because he needs a clear entrance to the northern road onto the hill, because I think that's his way back onto the center. Like, so he needs to take out the Jagdpanzer, but I don't think the ME19 directly focusing is the play, but rather them killing off the infantry surrounding it and then moving forward with your panzers and maybe infantry trying to get it that way. Instead we say Nate surrender, and that's early. Because wow.
Yeah.
What? Okay, that's really surprising, because if you look at the KD, it was really close. I'm not quite sure what happened there. It was a 59. Sure, it was a Bowser in the better position, but it was nowhere near decided in my eyes.
Yeah. I would say like Bowser had a firm grip on the game, but it was certainly like comebackable. Maybe it was a tilt or something, but yeah, one thing though was that that middle really hurt, because he would need like 2 more ticks of things to be able to get to the ridge without being ambushed from the ridge, and Bowser not really reinforcing the middle for him to have a good chance there.
Yeah, he was behind on the board, but it still, I think, was a position that was not completely lost. So giving it up in the final at that point, I think, was a bit too early. Maybe he felt like he got too tilted and wanted to get out of it before he went on full-on tilt mode. But still, like, yeah, the chances were getting slimmer, but there was still some hope on the horizon, maybe. So, yeah. But it's Nate's decision, so yeah, his decision to tap out. We have to respect it. Bowser getting game number 3 and finally getting onto match point. Finally getting onto match point in this game number 3. So game number 4 is all in for Nate. He has to win it to keep his chances alive. If Bowser gets game number 4, it's GG VP here for Nate. And that's where we're gonna get into in 4 minutes once more. Thanks for the follow there, Bot Crimson. Also, thanks for the follow, Weirdhack. I missed that one earlier. Yeah. Hello to the channel, guys. And see you all in 4 minutes when we are back with game number 4. So here we are again, guys, and we're back on the same map with the same divisions. Only thing that happened, both sides switched side. Let's see if that is the thing that changes it for Nate, because other than that, really next to nothing changed. Like, even the setup is the same, with in the south him having only 2 units, with Bowser having the exact same unit setup that he had last game. 2 Flammenwerfers, 4 SDKFZs, 250/10, and a couple Pioneers. Maybe he pushes through this time. Let's see if Nate goes deeper in this time in the south and baits Bowser better than he did last time, because if he does so, the middle should be easy to take for him. If Bowser falls for the bait in the south, it should be a pretty easy take for Nate in the center. So here we go.
Yeah, and just as I mentioned earlier, I feel that if you do the bait in the south, you need to focus forces more wherever you push. And I feel like he has a bit too many forces in the, like, you see a lot of force in the middle, so that's where you want to push. But I feel he has a bit too much in the 2 trains going in the north here for Nate. If you do the bait, I think you really need to go almost like all in with your income in one way, like in the center here, to really push all the way through. Because now, like, those extra cars going to the north, they're not going to push much on themselves, and they would have been doing a lot of work if they were in the center, I think.
Well, yeah, let's see where it goes. It's for sure now or never for Nate, because Bowser is on match point in this best of 5. And it goes pretty okay so far in the center. I think the Flammenwerfer versus Flammenwerfer fight there is going pretty well for Nate, so he should be able to pressure through there. And Bowser doesn't fall for the bait again. He gets 4 infantry squads and the SDKFZs now back into the center, but it's a bit later than last game, so let's see if Nate can use it at all. Only 2 passes 3 Ls is a bit too little armored support, I think, for this push he wants to do there, or he should do there. I don't know,
yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what he wants to do exactly. He gets the Northern flag, at least. That's a victory.
It's just like I said, like earlier, like you need like an Ersatztruppen or something just to fake with the front line if you play on this level for that bait to actually work.
Yeah.
At least he takes a fight in the middle, but he doesn't push. There's just like a Panzer IV and a Pact, and the next wave of reinforcements are going to come even before Nate capitalizes on it. So I think this is, like what you just said, like he really heavily invested in the middle at the cost of the south, but he, after winning the fight in the middle, he doesn't push through, which you really need to do when you make those kind of sacrifices.
Yeah, it's Nate overall seems to lack a bit of decisiveness or like aggressiveness in his play against Bowser. Maybe a bit too worried about the super aggressive player that is Bowser, and not playing his game enough here, because he could have, like, I really like the ideas of his plays here, but he doesn't play it through, and that's, I think, the issue. Though this time he at least brings AA for his Boyd Stalin, which is already coming up, which might be an interesting way of playing it, and I could see that working out, together with the Flag 41, which should give it protection from JOD8s, JOD7s.
I think Nate did a very good job taking the northern flag without too much investment, which is like a nice steal, like to compensate for the lost south.
Yes.
But yeah, otherwise it doesn't look too well for him at the moment, because Bowser is hoarding up a lot more stuff in the center than Nate has, even though Nate did the debate to push mid.
Yeah, Pioneers versus Pioneers here in the forest now. Both going at the same time, but I think the Pioneers of Emperor Nate should win out. Yes, they survive with 4 men after getting the kill there. Panzer IV.
Yeah, they have the ST as well.
Gets killed off in the center for Nate, for Bowser. So Nate getting a bit of the better traits here overall, but the second Pioneer for Bowser should be able to finish off the Pioneer of Nate here easily. Let's see how much this Boyd Stalin can do Like, I think that will be the decisive factor, at least in A phase here, about who is winning the middle. If the Boy the Stallion gets killed off easily by some nice play of Bowser, Nate will be in a lot of trouble. But if this Boy the Stallion can put on some pressure, Nate could get ahead with it.
Yeah, I would say that first thing is that it's like you said, like Bowser is a very aggressive player. Nate is really the more defensive, and we could see in the earlier games that the games that went longer was the one that went for Nate, while the games that ended quicker were the one that went to Bowser. And that's probably why he's not pushing, because Nate really cares, about the good trades. While Bowser he trades more units for gains in territory, while Nate really goes for the all-in of like trading efficiently unit for unit, but not unit for territory much. And we'll see with I think that the Flak 41 being on the downhill might be, seeing how you lost your boy to Stalin several games before and getting hit by cluster planes. I would be a little more defensive, especially now as there's not much happening. Maybe put up another Flak 43 to defend it, because the Stalin is moving a lot ahead, and this the Flak not being up on the hill, I think, might make it so it's just like 1 or 2 hits too slow to stop a cluster plane maybe. And that's only one. Like, even if losing 2 cluster planes against the Stalin might actually even be worth for Bowser here, seeing how it's just a single Stalin and it very much dominates the middle here right now.
What is interesting is now the investment into the north of Nate. I think that could take Bowser off guard, with Bowser still not investing into the south, which also could be a nice play, because there's obviously no anti-tank guns in the south again for Nate. Yeah, but with this play in the north, with the 2 Panzer IVs, the Pak 40 that are getting into the forest, I could see a situation where Nate runs over the 2 flags in the north, and then Bowser might be in a bit of a pickle about like how to react to it. So we see the J87 D5 coming in. Flag 41, I think one Flag 41 should be enough to keep it at bay. Especially with the Boy Stallion. Maybe
it would normally, but I think the position is not so good for it. Look, it's not even firing yet.
Oh yeah, I guess the hill is a bit off there, blocking the line of sight. Boy Stallion is moving backwards. Might survive this cluster because it's a bit spread out. No, and it even gets the T-34. Okay, this is disaster for Nate once more. Yeah, the Flag 41 was out of position there. That's for sure. Yeah. Not getting a good line of sight there. Gets the J87 on the way out at least, but now with the cluster plane getting 2 tanks at once, together with all the armored cars coming in for Mr. Bowser, Nate is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, huge trouble here in the middle. He's risking of losing it all. And also in the meantime, it's like I said, like usually if those cluster planes come in, sometimes they just want to move your tank sideways instead of backwards. Because backwards it's gonna keep on hitting you. Sideways it's shorter distance, and then hopefully you would maybe be able to move into the buildings for your enemy to lose vision. So it just blind bombs where you last saw you, and if that happens, it's a lot less distance to travel sideways to get out of the cluster than just backwards.
Yeah, but really the big issue here was the Flag 41 being in a pretty bad spot. Like, it should have moved on to the hill, and yeah, losing the Stalin like this is devastating. Like, if you can't see the whole annihilation of all of Nate's forces on the hill. He brings up 220mm off map, which, if it comes in time, might be able to salvage the position and give him enough time to get his reinforcing Panzer force to get into a position to at least contain the hill. But he will lose all his units on the hill in the next couple of seconds. And this on Orsha East usually is a kind of a death sentence. He now needs to get a decisive win somewhere else to at least keep a chance. Like, he needs the north now to go into his favor to keep his chances of having a comeback alive.
Exactly.
The 220mm could be devastating though. Let's see. Well, Bowser is doing his all-in though, so yeah. This would be a good off-map against a lot of other players, but against an Bowser it actually doesn't work out quite as well because he's just moving through it with all he has. Which might be a mistake though. Like, there's a lot of Panzer 3s and Panzer 4s now together with the Flak 41. Flak 41 already taking out 3 spare wagons. And so... yeah,
it's still costly losing the Flak 41, even if you get the free spare wagons. Like, you had the Panzers to take it out, so... yeah, I'm not sure if... yeah, like, now the spare wagon should fall back. But moving up, losing those spare wagon for the Flak 88, I would still think that was it would have been like a decent trade if you at least fall back. But like you said, the off-map really saves Nate's ass by putting down the infantry, making him able to get some support back before he really can overrun.
Yeah, in the north we see the Panzer 4s now in a duel with the Panzer 4 of El Bowser. And it looks like Nate will be able to take the north. The J87 even being a bit unnecessary here, coming in for Nate. Bit of a misinvestment maybe there. And that should give him at least 1 flag in the north, maybe even 2 flags. Though there's a Jagdpanzer and a Panzer 3, so I think it's only 1 flag for now. But that keeps him away from 59 and keeps him somewhat in this game. But he needs a really, really good off-map now from the 220mm. And like some form of a bridgehead back onto the hill in the next 3 to 5 minutes before El Bowser can totally fortify it. Jagdpanzers and more Panzer 4s on the way onto the center, and if they get there, I think there's no way for Nate to get back onto it, at least from this direction. Maybe from the north you still can get back onto it, but that's obviously always a hard way to get back onto the hill, because you also need to hold the north at the same time when you come in from the north, because it's the road getting in there is so far forward.
Yeah. At the same time, we see, just like last game, Bowser's south is 2 Flammenwerfer just protecting that. That's another thing that you probably will be frustrated when you watch the replay. It's such a weak link that those flags are held by almost nothing, and that there's no pro there. That's something, like you said before, like maybe if we had some good Division 1 players, they would be a bit more bold in trying to poke that southern forest, because there's not much poking needed for that to fall apart.
Yeah. So we have quite a couple of tanks. The off-map is not too bad. He kills 1 tank on the edge, so it looks like Nate might be able to get a bridgehead back onto the hill, which will make it a game again. Like, yeah, if you can get it at least 1 or 2 flags back here, get the 2 forests back into his hand to reinforce into, and keep El Bowser's AT guns out of there, threatening his reinforcement roads, then Nate is back into a position where this game actually becomes playable again. It's back to a 12-12 situation now, so yeah, I like his plays in the last 3 minutes. Like, obviously the mess up with the IS-2 and the really well executed push from El Bowser put him in a rough spot, but really used El Bowser's overextension there with good precision now in the last 2 minutes to get himself into a position where this game, while still being in favor of El Bowser, at least has some chances left for Nate to get it into his favor.
Yeah, I very much do agree. And do you think we'll see a Sturmpanzer down? This is the second time we see Hermann Göring, but no Sturmpanzers spotted so far.
I wouldn't expect them anytime soon. Like, they are certainly good in the right time, but it always feels like such a niche unit that also, like, is so micro heavy. It's slow, it's kind of clunky in how it behaves, that I don't know if any of these, if El Bowser is really comfortable playing it. I don't think it's a unit that fits his playstyle too well. I would expect more of what we already see, like Jagdpanzers together with Panzer 4s and T-34s, and then some armored cars. That's what we will see, I think, for the rest of the game from El Bowser.
Yeah, certainly. And he even managed to sneak a flag here on the back with Bowser managed with some infantry that Nate just plugged that hole. But yeah, the south is very, very thin. And the north isn't very well guarded either. Like plane strike or some kind of strike on that. If you take out that Pack 40 in the north for Nate, then there's his line wouldn't really hold much at all.
Well, he still has
yeah, a lot of-
enough infantry to make it, to give him enough time though to react if something happens in the north. So I still think his northern situation is pretty solid. The question really is, can he hold on now to the counter push in the center? And it looks worrisome again. It looks worrisome with the Panzer IVs pushing in there, killing off all the Panzer IIIs. And the reinforcements of Nate still being a bit off, like 3 Marder 1s are nice. And supported by T-34 and the Panzer IV, they obviously can do stuff, but the question is if it won't be too late when they arrive. Because there's a lot of tanks coming for the edge of the hill. Well, Bowser, and if he doesn't get over-eager once again, he should be able to hold it out this time. Obviously, we never can count on El Bowser not getting over-eager, but he really should be happy with the situation he got himself in now and just make it Nate's job to try to get back onto this hill. This time Nate also being out of like not having the off-map that he had last time, so it will be quite a bit a harder job. Marder's now getting into a firefight, which could be interesting here. They get the Jagdpanzer, so really good start there for Nate, and El Bowser actually getting over eager here with showing his tanks onto the edge of the hill. Now realizing that he has to disengage, but losing a Jagdpanzer fort, really nice trade there for Nate, getting the T-34 crippled as well with a gun jam.
Yeah, and we all see the Martyrs that really got a second, like the HP buff was a while ago, but now with the APCR buff, the Martyr really is a very, very strong unit now I feel, especially if you cycle the ammunition.
Oh yeah, with the with the APCR shell buff, the Martyr now has a lot of bite against medium and a bit heavy armor. And yeah, the 1311 here for Bowser isn't too worrisome now for Nate if he can get his forces onto the hill, and now he should be able to. Well, it's still 5 tanks for Bowser, so it will be an interesting fight. Oh no, the timing seems to be off for Nate. He comes in piecemeal, and this is a pretty shitty idea. Air support also doesn't come in time. He should have maybe waited for the 3 Panzer IVs coming up now. Loses 1 Marder already, not gaining anything for it. Has an SK-18 in, which is an...
Yes, I was just gonna say, Nate again with the artillery, but at least this time he picks a good artillery piece compared to last time. Let's see if it pays off better than last time. Yeah. He's instantly going for that AA.
Which I think is a good choice here, because that's the only AA that El Bowser has in the middle, and if you can pin that down at least, like, let alone killing it, your bombers and your cluster bombers can give you a chance of getting back onto the edge of the hill. So, it's good targeting there from Nate, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's just too bad that there's no radio at the moment. So I think that's gonna hurt that quite a bit. But slowly but surely the tank forces of Bowser has been diminished, and there's if he managed to kill the get rid of the tank blob in the middle, he has a lot. There's not much left defending, and we see a nice break there now.
He came a second in too early though. Like if we would have waited for 2 or 3 more shots of the SK-18s pinning down the Flak 41 completely, his push would have worked out. But instead, his tanks get caught by the Flak 41 on the way up. So his flank with the 3 tanks gets annihilated, and in the end, El Bowser lost quite a couple of tanks here as well, but he traded better. So
yes,
and he has a second Flak 41 now coming up. Flak 41 number 1 still alive because he would have gotten the kill on that one as well after the pin down. So a bit of an unlucky timing there of Nate once more, like just so slightly of being an amazing play, and instead it's a pretty bad play, like in the end, turning out to be heavily in favor of El Bowser.
Exactly. It was a good play, like moving up those tanks from all over the ridge at the same time, but it didn't work out for him well. And at the same time now, Nate is threatened. He's lost 1 flag in the north, and he's at a threat of losing even more flag here, as Bowser is diverting some forces up now to the northern part.
Yeah, it's a really Like, it was a really, really good idea. I really enjoyed the idea, just the execution was ever so slightly off, and that really cost him here. Which is quite a shame, but yeah. Also, Albauser's reaction, I think, was pretty good. He finally also realized that he doesn't need to get to the ridge, so stays away from it now, letting Nate do the job of trying to work it out. Whose idea of the SK-18 trying to bring it back, I think, is fine. I think he should have brought it a bit further forward, though. Like, you don't need to have artillery all the way back. You can bring it a bit further forward, so the time to travel for every shot is a bit slower, so the enemy can't micro against it, and it also gets even more precise.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're up against players that don't use artillery, like putting artillery in the back is more useful when you're like shooting enemy artillery. But now that Bowser hasn't put any artillery up other than like 40mm mortars one game, so I think there you can be a bit more ballsy with your artillery and putting it further to the front line.
Absolutely. ME19 also coming in the north, killing off one Ersatztruppen. 59 though now for Bowser, and yeah, it's a lot of tank forces now for Nate. If he maybe with some good smoke play or so he could do it, but SK-18s don't have smoke. Yeah, that's one of the issues with the SK-18. The Flak 41s also now will keep Nate's planes away from the center, so it's a good idea that he diverts it to the north, but means that his tanks have to do the job alone, and that will be tough. Getting into this line of fire that Bowser set up there with his Jagdpanzer, his Flak 41 and all the Panzer IVs and T-34s that he has up there will be a tough nut to crack.
But I think this is more the current meta we see now from Nate. We see more tanks than we have infantry. There's 2 grenadier squads and then just a shit ton of P4s. But I think he needed like an infantry something that can peek over the ridge. I think that's what Bowser is missing. Even if he doesn't take the ridge, he at least want to sneak up an Ersatztruppen or something to be able to see down the ridge to see what's happening. Because otherwise it's going to happen again, just like we saw earlier, where Nate is going to be able to peek up with his P4s where he wants over the ridge.
Yeah, so we have 11 Panzer IVs now in the middle for Nate. That's his last hurrah. If he doesn't manage to get himself back onto the middle with this, he will not do it for the rest of the game, but it has some potential, that's for sure. Especially if you can pin down something with his SK-18. Also now eliminating some Panzer Grenadiers, peeking out for Bowser.
Yeah, so I think that one of these Grenadier squads should have been like a artillery leader maybe. And if you could have put it where your off-map vehicle is now, around there, I think that would have been, or in the forest right just north of there, that would have been enough to your SK-18 really messing with these Flak 88s.
He already has a radio. The SK, the 20mm is a radio, so.
Right. It's just slightly too far back.
Yeah,
and he has the tanks up ahead, so he does have the space to actually move it up enough to get that.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't want to risk it, but yeah, he could move it up. Also, what he misses is maybe one leader unit to give all his Panzer IVs 3-star veterancy. That would be really, really neat.
Especially with this amount.
Yeah, like with this amount, 1-star veterancy difference is insane. Like if you give 8 Panzer IVs that extra star veterancy, it's really nice. So let's see how good his timing is. This time he spread it out over the whole front and all his Panzer IVs are moving in. First one goes down, but now they all are over the front and they open fire, and it will be bloody on both sides, that's for sure. The question is who will get out of the head. I can't tell you so far. Both sides losing Panzer IVs left, right and center. But the Flak 41 in the back might be an issue. Well, T-34's falling, and not too many Panzer IVs right now falling on Emperor's side. So it looks like it's working out actually. There goes quite a couple though. So he has 5 remaining. Flak 41's still being alive. Well, yeah, it's really close, but Bowser might be able to hold on with the reinforcements just coming in. The 2 Panzer IVs coming in from the back might be able to save the situation here.
Yeah, I think that if those two flak 88s is really what's saving El Bowser's with this.
Yeah, the
That's really
Panzer
back-
Grenadiers maybe should have walked in a bit earlier to give the support that they're giving right now, helping out pinning down Flak 41s. And yeah, a lot of Panzer IVs just died in the last couple of minutes without taking anything out, like the Flak 41 in the south doing a really good job there. And this makes the situation really going in favor of El Bowser. After this really bloody tank battle here, it looks like El Bowser will come out ahead in the end. Even though it was a good idea, like, and a solid execution this time as well from Nate, but I think El Bowser might have been just a bit too far ahead. Flak 41 in the north falls, but there's a second one already coming up there to replace it. And with 3 tanks still remaining for El Bowser in the center against only 2 of Nate, together with AA still on the side of El Bowser also being up, it looks like Nate is running out of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The 20th, they're not a long lasting division at all, and I think that these flak, they're really what held off the thing, because just the first initial engagement, Nate did extremely well, but the second he just moved up where the flak 88s are, it really started going downhill here. And now with that new flak 88, and I think we're seeing Panzer IVs now coming in instead of the F1s, support one instead of the normal ones, the tank one versions. I think Nate is probably close of running out of armor.
Yeah, like, he really needed to have this being the knockout punch, and it wasn't the knockout punch that he needed. And now he's running out of stuff, and El Bowser still has a combined arms remaining. Like, it's not like El Bowser sure took a lot of casualties, but in the end, he still has AA, he still has tanks, he still has infantry, so there's really nothing that Nate could exploit as a weakness in the forces of El Bowser. It's just that both sides now have less of everything, with El Bowser still having a bit more, and a bit more cohesion in his forces as well.
Certainly. Yeah, and now as we see, like, he sends in some Flammenwerfers, which are very late, but still alive, but yeah, they're not gonna last. And we haven't seen it seems like a few ticks now. We haven't seen much armor at all. That Panzer IV F1 was the last armor call in, and so I think that Nate is very much running on the last fumes right now on his on most of his tabs actually.
Yeah. What he really lacked in this push, in the last push, was off map. Like, if he would have had an off map call in before that push onto the ridge, I think that would have went completely different. But sadly, all his off map rounds were already used. He didn't have a second 220mm, it looked like. I thought it would have been a B card, but it looked like it was a A card of 220mm, which might have been a mistake for his playstyle. And with that,
especially seeing, but I don't think that the off map would have, because the off map wouldn't have really reached the flak 88s, and the tank bastion and the infantry fight you won quite decisively, so it wasn't really there. I think, if you would have used off map, I would think that would have actually helped more if you put it in the back flak 88s or like MG 42 instead of actually where the tanks were, because the tank battle you had that locked down. It was really the flak 88s that stopped you from moving up.
Yeah, but now El Bowser's counter push comes, and there's just nothing left for Nate to hold on to it. You went all out in that push, and now the counter push of El Bowser should be the final blow and seal the deal of this game, and with that, it would also seal the deal on this series. With El Bowser on the way to trying to become the champion of Division 3 here, taking with him $25 as the winner.
Yeah, and I think it quite says a lot that the Hermann Göring, they have a thinner tank. They don't have as many P4s or tanks. Even though they have that lower number, Bowser still has P4s or like tanks he's been calling in, while now Emperor, which is the 20th strength, like quite a lot of like P4s they get is run out. I think that tells a lot about how Bowser has just been training better with tanks overall.
Yeah. 14-10 now for Mr. Bowser here. And he's killing off the last couple of armored units in the center on his way to 59. And I would expect Nate to tap out here any second. He played a really good series overall. He really played a pretty strong game number 2. And like this game also had some good strong points, but obviously the play against the IS-2 from Bowser was just too good. And since then, Nate tried to catch up, had some good ideas, but not quite the execution needed for getting them onto the board, leaving Bowser here in this position that seems to be nigh unbeatable in this game number 4.
Yeah, I think it's very much like we also talked earlier. Bowser really here showing off that he is the one of the rising stars. Like you said, it's him, Quattro U, and then we also have, like, I feel Green HD are the people that really shown their dominance in their respective divisions. And yeah, it's been very interesting games and very good league. And yeah, I quite surprised that this time, well, it's the final game, like you said, maybe that's why he's not tapping out, but how early he tapped out last game compared to this one.
Yeah, that's for sure. Quite a difference. Like, last game, I think he was in a better spot than he is right now at the moment of his tap out, but obviously you don't want to give up that last game too, like the last chance too early. And yeah, he still has an okay spot in the north, but that's not a position where you can push out from. And in the center, he just loses everything right now. There's just way too much of Bowser and way too little Nate there to get him anywhere. And it's just a numbers game. Like, it's Vanguard versus Vanguard, so both sides don't get too many reinforcements. And like Nate would need like 5 to 7 minutes of unimposed setup to maybe have a chance of even breaking the situation with like Bowser doing nothing and also not really reinforcing to have a chance against this. And obviously Bowser will not give it to him. 16-8 now happening, 5 minutes back on the clock for Nate, and I don't think we will see much more than 5 minutes 30 of this match.
No, I think Nate really doesn't have much, seeing he's calling in like a pack 88. Like, he doesn't really, I don't even think like if he had more time, I don't even think he has the deck to survive much longer at all.
Yes, this is for sure getting closer and closer to the finish line here. And yeah, the Jagdpanzers just seem to be unbeatable. Pack 43 not really cutting it. It's not the Krupp one, so it's the slow firing one with only 7 rounds per minute, which is not that amazing against medium tanks. You want to have faster firing AT guns against those, because the penetration is overkill anyways. Like 230 millimeters, you might as well just have a Pack 40.
Yeah, especially now with the Pack 40 APCR doing 190 pen, or like it always did, but now it does it for a lot further. I do think one of the good things for Nate is like the ME109 with the 250. I think sometimes he's been using them on like armor that they don't really do well, but otherwise I think they've been doing quite a decent job over the game.
This game would have been so different if his first push back on the ridge, like his first armored push back on the ridge, would have worked out a bit better. If he would have gotten that Flak 88, would have gotten his ME109s back into the center play, this game would have been quite a bit closer, but sadly that was just like 2 or 3 shots off for the SK-18 before that Flak 41 was pinned, and this way he couldn't use his ME109s at all in the center, which is what always an investment that he took in the games where he played 20th Panzer, and that he needed to give him at least some payback, and in game number 3 and 4 it just didn't. And so here we are, 2 minutes 30 on the clock, and Bowser really showing why he is one of the best aggressive players, and also always showing that this is also his weakness. Like his aggressive play, he can be really decisive, and it's so hard to get him when his push is really working out, but he's always giving you a chance at least to come back by going a bit too deep afterwards. Like, it feels so bad to get pushed by him at the beginning, but it also feels so good to be when he doesn't stop the push and just keeps on going deeper and deeper into your territory. But it wasn't enough in this game, unlike in game number 2, where that push.
And I feel we see that this game much more than the other game, that at least like he recognizes his mistakes of the earlier games and plays and does play a lot better when it comes to his weakness. That he doesn't at all do the the charge into the enemy's face too as hard as he usually does.
Yeah, like he played quite a bit more conservative after the first push into the Flak 41 and all the Panzer Force, and like after losing that first Jagdpanzer, he really realized, okay, now it's time to stay back. I'm already winning. Let's continue winning. Let's not throw it away this time. And that is his way to Division 2 as first place in Division 3 for the next season, taking with him most likely the 25 bucks any second now, with Nate ticking down further and further. Now we even have the Gephards showing up.
It's going to be an interesting next season. I think Bowser is going to do well even in the second division.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think both of these guys are a good fit for Division 2. Nate has to maybe work a bit on his aggression, like getting a bit more into the driver's seat more often in games as well. I think that was not just the issue in this game, but like also in the games where he won, that he was maybe lacking a bit of aggression. Like, the rest of his play is so solid that it still worked out till the finals, obviously. Like, he got here somehow. It's not that he's a bad player, but a bit more aggression, I think, would make his play even more well-rounded. But on the other side, obviously for Bowser, it's maybe a bit of the opposite. Getting a bit more conservative sometimes will for sure help him out in Division 2, where there are a lot of other aggressive players as well.
Yeah, and that's what we see in the top division as well. Like the best way to play the game is being really aggressive early, taking the good spot where you get like a double tick or a good tick, and then just digging in your heals, or really overwhelming then that area, or using that forces then to overwhelm other parts of the enemy line or from the sides. And that's what Bowser has been doing this game, and it's paying off.
Yeah. 25 seconds left on the clock. Looks like Nate will go all the way out, not giving up before it's over. Hoping for the miracle, but obviously that's not really possible at this point anymore. Only thing that could stop Nate from losing here is a power out on El Bowser's side, and we don't hope for that one. And here we go. Nate surrendering in the end. Again, KD isn't that horrible. Like, it's way closer than we see. Like, most of the time we see way more decisive KDs than in the games we saw so far. Like, it was always 300 to 400 kill difference. This time it's 420. So it really speaks of the skill matchup of these two players and how close they are in their power level. In the end, it's El Bowser taking the one step further, becoming champion of Division 3, taking home the 250, 25 bucks, and getting his chance in Division 2 next season. Maybe. Yeah.
Congratulations, Bowser, and also Nate. Great games, and well played, making it all the way here, and also then pulling through. Very interesting games. And one more thing I want to say is that now we see looking at the artillery, and this one, instead of just pinning a few infantry, not killing anything, this one actually managed the SK-18, even if it wasn't maybe used perfect, did have some misses, it at least did a lot more this game, killing a Jagdpanzer, some MGs, and some infantry.
Yeah, like, it was a pretty good game here in game number 3, for sure. For sure better in game number 3, and it was for sure also a pretty good final from both players. And this was also a really good warm-up for the next match we have, because There's one more series today, guys. That's not it, guys. We will also give you the final of Division 2. I have to ask a lot. Will you hang out with me for that too, or is it time for you to call it a day?
Sure.
Because obviously it's pretty late for you, so...
I think I can still hang around. It's nothing much to do now, especially now things are the are. I don't have anything to do, and then I'm not even allowed to go much anywhere. So I'm up for more, but you'll have to send them to me because I don't think I have them.
Yeah, so we will take a bit of a longer break for this, guys. We have to get replays and so on and set it up, but be tuned for crowdfunding versus Eugen in the finals of Division 2 in 10 minutes.